There's a stigma with holiness that it's boring. Holiness has to be just a bore, according to many of the people who live in this world. And yet, in my experience, I've found that quite the opposite is true. Holiness can be very, very exciting. Holiness can be very thrilling. When we take our stand for God and the world attacks us and persecutes us and mocks us and makes fun of us, we can be disturbed, but there's also a great thrill that I've found in living for God, in being hated by the enemy, in being hated by all those who oppose God. There is a little bit of a thrill in that. Yet, even beyond the sadistic thrill that some of us may get when mockery and persecution comes our way, there's also the unbounding joy, the overwhelming joy of the Holy Spirit that is just, oh, it's so wonderful. It's hard to describe with words just how much pleasure we can get from living for God. Our experiences, our pleasure, our pain, ultimately is not the point. Ultimately, the point of the matter in being obedient to God is not how we feel right now. In the long run, we will always be glad that we were obedient to God. In the long run, we will always be glad that we stayed obedient to God. But whether it's boring or exciting, or whether it's joy-filled, our experiences, our emotions are not the point. Holiness can be boring. Not always, but it can be. But that is not the point. The point is that we follow after God. The point is that we stay obedient to God. The point is that we live for God. And regardless of how we perceive our momentary emotions, when we live a holy life as Christ and God has called us to live in through the power of the Holy Spirit, there is no relevance really to our temporary emotions, because our eternal emotions in heaven will forever be glad that in a moment of time we were faithful to God.